Good morning, good evening. Welcome to the kick-off session for the AI Marketing Lab, part of our 2026 Jumpstart January series. My name is Ashley Dudaranok and I'm thrilled to be with you here today. I am based in Hong Kong, part of the Greater Bay Area Metropolitan Chapter, and I run a China-focused research and digital transformation company. Think about that, digital transformation. And today we're talking about AI. This is a theme for the year. So over the next 3 weeks, we'll explore together how to use AI to understand the audience, increase our visibility in AI search, and scale high quality on-brand content to grow reach and brand impact. Today, we're very fortunate to have the amazing Ross Simmonds here as our expert coach. Yes, there he is, waving at us. But before I introduce him and give him the floor, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Firstly, please update your Zoom name to include your first and last name if you haven't already. This will help us to keep the session secure, personalized, and of course, make sure that we know who is in the room. Language support, another important point. For this session, we are offering interpretation in Mandarin Chinese and Japanese. You can click interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom screen to select your language. A quick note in Chinese. 本次会议统供普通话和日语口译服务。请点击 Zoom 屏幕底部的口译按钮，选择您的语言。好。You can also enable captions in your preferred language by clicking captions on your Zoom toolbar. Secondly, our Zoom chat is open. So we'd love to hear from you throughout the whole session. Any aha moments, any examples of you're already doing with AI, and of course, most importantly, any questions. If you have questions for us, drop them in the chat anytime. If we don't get to those questions today, don't worry. You can also post them in our LinkedIn group and he will get to answer them a bit later. So as you start applying what you are learning, and also as you probably want to share some of the lessons from today, please share it on social media. We have our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other accounts. Use EO Nation hashtag. It would be a pleasure to see all your posts. Finally, a reminder that today's session will be recorded and posted on our course platform within the next 48 hours. We'll drop the link in the chat so you can catch up or rewatch this session anytime. And now we are ready for our speaker introduction. As said, our coach for today is Ross Simmonds. Ross is a marketing strategist and entrepreneur who helps B2B and SaaS brands grow through content, SEO, and emerging technology. He is the founder of Foundation Marketing, a B2B agency trusted by brands like Canva. He's been recognized by Sumo, BuzzSumo, and SEMrush as one of the world's most influential marketers. Ross Insights has also been featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, and many, many other media outlets. Welcome, Ross. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me. I super appreciate it. Ashley, great introduction, and really appreciate the honor to have you introduce me. I've been watching your work over the last few weeks and super impressed by everything you do. So thrilled to be here, folks. As mentioned, my name is Ross Simmonds. Today, week one of Jumpstart January. Thank you all for making the time. Today, we are going to be diving into how you can see the market clearly. Today, we're going to dive into a lot. But I'm going to start by debunking some myths. And one of those myths is something that all of us have likely been impacted by, whether it's when we go online, whether it's people that we care about, people we love. We have all, as entrepreneurs, founders, creators, people, been lied to. One of the first lies that I was ever told as a young kid was that if you drove around in your car and you had the dome light on, you could go to jail. I thought this was true for way too long in my life. I thought literally that this was something that was illegal. Another thing that I thought was true, but was not, was this idea that if you swallow bubble gum, it will sit in your stomach for 7 years. That was a lie. But here's a lie that is more relevant to the state of things today. As entrepreneurs, as people who are trying to generate business, you may have come across this lie right here, which is a lie that AI written content, that content that you create, whether it's social media posts, blog posts, if it's landing page copy, messaging, emails, it's all just going to be trash, that it will never work well for you, that AI can only create mediocre, sloppy content. This is a lie. And over the course of Jumpstart January, my goal is to show you a few things. One, how you can use these tools to create content and tell stories that move the needle for your business. So you can ensure that the content that you are creating and the stories that you're telling actually resonate with your audience, and that you can use AI as a superpower. My goal is to also show you how you can influence the LLMs, how you can ensure that when someone is using Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, you name it, whatever platform, that your stories and the message that you want told will actually come to life. But I'm not someone who likes to do presentations with backing it up with actual research. So when I see concepts like this, I like to research them to better understand if it's true or if it's false. And it turns out that this, I believe, is false. You see, a few years back in 2023, when the entire internet completely got flipped on its head thanks to the launch of LLMs and ChatGPT, this one company called CNET decided that they were going to publish hundreds of articles using AI. And they're creating content on one of the most sensitive topics in the world. There's this philosophy at Google called your money and your life topics. If you are creating content about someone's wealth, someone's financial situation, their health, those two topics are highly scrutinized by the algorithm. And Google will only send you traffic if you have good, high quality content. So CNET took a leap of faith and they created a bunch of content using AI and they disclosed it. So I decided that I was going to reverse engineer and see if this content that they wrote using AI actually drove results. Now, here's the thing. In this discovery, in the process of looking at them, I came across a whole bunch of edits, a whole bunch of errors, a whole bunch of mess around these articles. You see, the articles had hallucinations. The LLM made tons of mistakes. So what did the people do? The journalists, the writers, the marketers, the entrepreneurs, people all over the world were so excited about the idea that the robots made errors. They celebrated, yay, humans forever. Robots, the AI is trash. It will never work. There was journalists writing about it. CNET paused the entire plan around using these stories. It was an absolute chaotic mess. And I thought from my research, yeah, maybe these gurus out there, maybe they're right. Maybe LLMs can't create good content. So I dove deeper. My alias, I'm a big nerd. I like books, and Sherlock Holmes was like one of my idols as a kid. I used to read those books all the time. So I created this alias for myself when I'm doing research called Sherlock Homeboy. And Sherlock, and I don't own this pea coat, but if you know where I can get it, send me a DM. I'd love to wear this. This also isn't me. I used a tool called Midjourney to create this, just in case. Some folks have thought in the past when seeing this slide, it's me. It's not. What I wanted to do is research and understand that situation. So what did I do? I did an analysis of every single URL that they published and disclosed that it was written with AI. And I analyzed the organic traffic that they were generating. And the number blew my mind. 5.1 million annual visits to AI generated content. 2,400 backlinks from publications, media outlets, and more. You would have to spend $1.3 million every single month to generate the amount of traffic that they were generating just by pressing publish on AI generated content. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see that this brand, this business was able to produce content using AI that generates millions of dollars worth of traffic, I can't help but be interested. right? And I know people in the industry, marketers, creators all over the world are feeling very stressed out right now. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is doing to white collar jobs what robotics has long been doing to blue collar jobs, right? And this is something that we all just need to accept as a bit of the reality today, where you can look every single social channel and they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars on a regular basis into AI. Algorithms are changing all the time. Google is no longer a place that just sends you traffic. It is now a destination. Some of you will log in to Google Analytics, and I encourage you to do this test. If you don't have Google Analytics on your site, that's step one. You should definitely install that. But what I want you to do is if you look at your total number of impressions in Google and clicks in Google, over the last few months, you may have seen a massive gap start to begin where impressions and clicks have gone opposite directions. What is the reasoning? The reasoning is simple. Google is no longer just a place that sends you traffic. It is a place that is scraping the internet and giving people answers to questions right there directly in the search engine results page. When you ask Google, where should I go for dinner? It will answer the question without you clicking on a blog. When you ask, what are the best books I should read to learn about AI? It will tell you the answer to that question. When you ask, what are the best marketing conferences? It will give you the answer without you clicking anything, right? This is why so many marketing industries and roles, content writers, email marketers, graphic designers feel threatened. At Foundation, we did this analysis in this survey across hundreds of marketing professionals, and the data speaks volumes. Writers, email marketers, graphic designers feel at risk in their roles. And for good reason. When you open up a job description today in marketing, there's people who want to hire someone with background in email, SEO, branding, social media, video, PR, design, 6 years experience, 40K. It's absolutely chaos. Budgets are getting cut left, right, and center. You have people who want to have Barbie results with Ken budgets. It is absolute chaos out there for marketers today. I don't know about you, but as a marketer, as someone who creates content online, someone who works with some of the biggest brands in the world, helping them drive results, things were way easier in 2019, right? Things were way easier in 2019 compared to now. Now things are stressful. There's a lot of chaos going on in the market. It's absolute chaos out there. Now, you're all entrepreneurs. I'm curious. Some of you work for entrepreneurs. I'm curious. How many of you think robots could do, let's say, 50% of the tasks that you do every week? I want you to think of this week. How many of the tasks that you do on a regular basis, and drop it in the chat. How many of you think that an AI could do 50% of your tasks? How many of you think the AI could do, let's say, 75%? I'd be very curious if anyone, and then let's go all the way. How many of you think 95% of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis could be done by AI? I have a feeling fewer people are going to be in that 95% mark, right? But here's what I want you to remember. Today, as we connect and learn and go through Jumpstart January, this is the worst all of these AI tools will ever be again. And they're only going one way: improvements, improvements, improvements. Let me show you something. So, how many of you think you could do a Sudoku faster than an AI could? I think it's pretty obvious. I would assume that some of you may have seen some of these types of videos, but it's close to impossible, right? It's close to impossible for a human to compete on logical IQ tasks at the level and the rate in which an AI can do it, right? This is why if I asked you right now, let's do a bit of an experiment. I'm going to show two photos on my screen. And if you have a pen and pad, great, let's use that. If you open up a new tab in a window, you can open up a Google Doc and take track of this. I'm going to show you some food and I'm going to show you an animal. And I know it's close to breakfast for some of you. Sometimes some of you have already eaten, but I'm going to show you some food. And I want to see if you can list and keep track of how many animals I show versus food. All right, let's do this experiment. How many muffins versus chihuahuas? How many bagels versus dogs? How many pieces of fried chicken versus puppies? How many sloths versus pastries? The AI would have got it. 8 muffins, 6 bagels, 6 pieces of chicken, 8 pastries, and the AI wouldn't have gotten hungry doing any of that. The AI would have been able to answer those questions, not be hungry, way faster than our human eyes could have done it, right? This is why marketers around the globe are feeling like they're in turmoil because so many things that they used to do, so many stories that they used to be able to tell, the way in which they used to be able to produce content, optimize their websites, the way that they thought about storytelling has to change. So many algorithms are changing, so many platforms are changing. But I always say the best way to look ahead is to actually look back. So come with me on a journey back to 2018 when I was going around all over the globe trying to tell people Google is becoming a destination. You need to not focus exclusively on Google. You need to be on other platforms. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on ChatGPT, on not ChatGPT, it didn't exist yet. You need to be on X. You need to be on Reddit. You need to be on Quora. You need to be on Instagram. I was saying that in 2018, 2019, 2020, even back in 2017, I was trying to tell folks all over the globe that they need to think outside of Google as marketers. And I'm encouraging you today to take inspiration from these old ideas because they are still applicable now. There was a recent study done by SEMrush. SEMrush found that the most cited domains in Google AI overviews was Quora, Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube, meaning these websites, the content being published on them, was more likely to influence the LLMs than any other site. Now, here's something that's very interesting. When you go across APAC and other regions, you will notice that there has recently been a surge in Reddit specific URLs showing up. If you go to LATAM as well, Reddit domain is starting to show up more and more frequently in the SERP. Why? Because Google and Reddit have a partnership, and that partnership is putting Reddit on the front page of search across many, many countries. And I hear this time and time again. I wish someone told us about Reddit and LinkedIn and Quora and all these channels back in 2018. Well, I did. I really did. I tried. I'm sorry if I didn't reach you with my message. I was trying so hard to tell people that this is what was coming, but you've signed up for Jumpstart January. So I hope that you take the insights that I'm going to share today, the weeks to follow, to heart. And it starts with a simple framework, folks. Research, creation, distribution, optimization. These are the 4 fundamental elements of marketing and communication that we need to focus on. Over the last few years, a lot of brands, gurus, marketers fell in love with this idea of just creating. We didn't do research. We just got on a hamster wheel and just wrote blog posts every day, put up LinkedIn posts every day, WhatsApp posts, every day. Just content, content, content. Not thinking about the importance of research, distribution, or optimization. I think it's time for all of us to put marketing back into content marketing and recognize that research is at the heart of what gives you as an entrepreneur an actual competitive advantage. One insight, one idea, one piece of information can fundamentally change the trajectory of your company, your business, your career. And that's why you signed up, because you believe in the value of education and information. So let's embrace that, but let's sprinkle AI on top of all of it, because that is where I believe the biggest unlocks happen. So, how do we use AI to do research? I believe that AI should be a part of research, whether you're doing keyword research, social research, audience research, competitive research, social sharing research, any type of research you can think of, you should be tapping into AI. But you have to be careful. There is a virus spreading around the world right now. And that virus is called the hallucination virus of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all of these tools. So many people are falling into the trap of reading and seeing content that says, ChatGPT can do in-depth Reddit research and show me what the most popular subreddits are about pickleball. And then they'll get this response and they'll think these are the top subreddits. At first glance, you probably would think, yeah, that's probably it. However, if you click in, like this is published on a major publication, if you clicked and read a little bit more about these subreddits, what you will find is that they don't exist. It's errors. Pickleball tips does not exist. This community pickleball videos, it does not exist. These are hallucinations by the
Okay, but turn
LLMs
the volume up. You're
where
turning
they
it
are
down.
not able to be found. This is what I call ChatGPT propaganda, where everyone is saying that these tools can do things that they actually can't. On X, I came across multiple people preaching and saying you should do keyword research, which is a core function of search, SEO, so search engine optimization, using ChatGPT. And they would say, give me some keyword ideas for a French Bulldog website, and they'd get them. Or they'd say, research this copywriting resource, show keyword search volume and difficulty score, and they'd get these types of metrics, and thousands of people would consume it. Over 60,000 views on X for this content. Now, I looked at this and it turned out that people were also publishing the same ideas on Search Engine Journal. The most trusted brands in the industry writing about this. And again, as somebody who believes in doing research, I went into my own Sherlock Homeboy and I said, I'm going to use Ahrefs, a tool that I trust that actually will bring data to this discussion. And I said, let's do research on these keywords and see how they compare to ChatGPT. The results, they were only off by a couple tens of thousands. No big deal, right? That's huge. Tens of thousands in terms of the difference. And some of you might think, oh no, ChatGPT is brilliant. That's a fluke. No, it's not a fluke. I did this research with other queries. And as you can see, the blue is what ChatGPT recommended. The red is where the SEO data actually showed. Massive gaps in fashion, in sunglasses, in software, in telecommunications. Pro tip. For LLM research, don't rely on them for your data-driven insights unless you know that it's going to a true source of first-party data that can be used to give you a better answer. But I believe first-party proprietary data should be prioritized and fed to a paid LLM so you know where it's at, or a local hosted LLM, something that you have running on your own servers. That's where it needs to live. Because otherwise, you open yourself up to risk. I do believe, though, when you combine proprietary research from a trusted data source, like let's say I run a hotel company, and I'm trying to create an SEO strategy for my hotel company, I might look at a brand like Hyatt and say, I want you to export for me in Ahrefs all of the keywords that people would look for in this space. And then I take this data and then I'm going to upload it to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, here are the top 1,000 keywords from the Hyatt's domain. I want you to review them. Look for non-branded keywords that have high commercial intent, which means these are keywords that really matter, that you would have to spend good money on to actually rank #1 in Google to capture. And then I'm going to click the word deep research, because deep research means it's actually going to browse the web. It's going to spend some time doing some deep analysis into other models, into other content online, and it's going to create a more in-depth response. But before it does, it's going to ask me for clarifying questions. And when it asks me these clarifying questions, it gives me the chance to say, yes, high commercial intent would be people who are ready to book, reserve, look for a deal, high cost per click, things of that nature. The goal is to drive bookings and improve local search. The strategy should focus on organic SEO. So I'm telling it, I'm coaching it and guiding it down the path that I want it to take. And once that's complete, once that has been taken care of, the results are wild. It's city-specific keyword themes and opportunities. Based on this analysis, we have identified opportunities for the Hyatt to improve organic visibility. Below summarizes top cities, top high intent keywords, landing page titles, and themes. It gives me all of this. This type of analysis, folks, would have cost thousands of dollars just a few years ago. And now you have it at your fingertips for the price of a subscription to an LLM like Perplexity, ChatGPT, etc. It will go as far as saying you need to have a key neighborhood section on your website where you're going to do this at scale for all of the key neighborhoods that are in your region. I could then take this, go to a tool like Replit, which is a developer software that or an AI coding tool where I could say, design a landing page that is called Where to Stay in Midtown Manhattan near Financial District. This should be branded for the Hyatt, but really speak to SEO oriented channels. And you want to know what happens after I hit send? The same way that Sudoku was done in seconds. In seconds, it starts to write code, it starts to do design, and it creates these landing pages for me. Now, I look at this and I'm like, at first glance, this is pretty good. But what happened to Andes Fifth Avenue? It's a broken image. I know I look at that, it's, I'm like, what's going on? Where's my image? What's my photo? So what do? I say, the image for Andes Fifth Avenue is broken. Can you fix that? And it says, I've replaced the broken image for Andes Fifth Avenue with a high quality stock photo of a luxury loft. And there it is. All in the matter of minutes, folks. I don't have to wait for a graphic designer. I don't have to wait for a developer. I have the conversation with the LLM and it fixes the landing page problems for me in real time. This is a new way of working. This is a new way of building. And we're going to dive into that deeper over the course of the next few weeks. Now, let's say you want to do in-depth competitive research. I believe that the most powerful thing that you can do is ensure that when you are communicating with your LLMs, that you are providing in-depth prompts. I also think it's a good thing to kind of be somewhat friendly. I always say hi to my LLMs. I sometimes will even say please and thank you because you never know. Someday these things might become real and they're not coming from me. Kidding, not kidding. So I would say, hey, Claude, what I want you to do is conduct an in-depth competitive analysis of Manhattan-based lawyers that focus on commercial law. So from that prompt, I'm immediately saying that I want an in-depth. So that means don't just create something simple. I want you to go deep on this. Competitive analysis of region. Then I'm talking about my niche, my audience, my space. And I want you to analyze these things. Your go-to-market strategy, their brand, their positioning, their story, their message, their website structure. Understand what their message is that is articulated on their website. You go in depth and then you hit send. If you have on deep research, it's going to then actually go to the websites of the competition, browse through the websites, look and check and see how many pages they think it has, whether or not it has a blog. What is the regular frequency of their publishing? It provides you with all of the information that used to take hundreds of dollars worth of time to go and do. Folks, over the course of Jumpstart January, we're going to dive into how to influence the LLMs, as well as how to build a content engine to ultimately do all of the things that we've talked about today so far, but at scale. But it's important that to do these things, you understand the philosophies of prompts. When you are writing a prompt, for example, or when your customer is writing a prompt, they might start by just saying and having a conversation saying, I want to find the best, or I need to find the top. By simply understanding the philosophies of research, which is what we're focused on today, it will set you up nicely for the future sessions. So here's another example of a prompt you could use. Hey, ChatGPT, I want you to do research on the top 10 brands selling electrolyte powders online and summarize in a spreadsheet the key differences between brand positioning, marketing, tone, voice, price, description, audience, packaging, etc. And then what you will find is, again, you will start to see better results. You can ask simple questions too. You can say, what are the best creatine gummies that aren't filled with toxins and sugar? Because you just want to see what your customer might be looking for. What are the best hotels to stay in downtown Manhattan? You want to see what the customer is looking for. So start to play with those types of prompts and see what you see when you type them in. As an experiment, like think about it from your geolocation. No matter if you're in Hong Kong, you're in Nashville, you're in the Philippines, wherever you might be, I want you to think about your industry, your space, your business, and then ask the LLM the simple question, who is the best? Then insert your service and industry that offers this product, this service in, and then list your region. And then start to see what shows up. This is going to help you better understand the way the LLMs are thinking. Now, here's another thing that I want to share with you. This is a cheat code in research. It's a tool called Keywords Everywhere. This is a Chrome extension that you can install directly on your browser. And when you install it in your browser, if you go to a tool like Claude, if you go to ChatGPT, whatever tools you use, it will give you the option to insert a templated prompt. You can insert and select that the category is marketing, finance, entrepreneurship, you name it. You can select different templates on what you want to learn and what you want to do. And it's going to help craft for you a prompt that will support you with best-in-class prompting so you always get in-depth response. So I did, for an example here, a marketing ideation prompt to help come up with marketing ideas for my company foundation with the targeted audience of a VP of marketing. And in the matter of seconds from that prompt, I was met with a plethora of different campaigns, different ideas, and stories that we could go to the market with. Now, to be honest, I've been in marketing for a long time now. And looking at this, I can say with confidence that I've seen marketing teams present ideas not as good or just as good as these and get paid a lot of money to do it. This is at your fingertips. That electrolyte powder example, you literally will get a spreadsheet back, folks. A spreadsheet that tells you all of the best electrolyte powders, their tone, their voice, the price of their product, how many servings per pack, the price per serving, sodium per serving. They give you all of those details. What's their sweetener strategy? It will give you all of that. Do this type of research in your industry. I encourage you tonight to think, this afternoon, this morning to think, how can I leverage an LLM to get a better understanding of my competitors in my market? How can I use an LLM to better understand my niche and my space, right? Can you export information from review sites, copy and paste all of those reviews of your customers, your competitors, paste them into the LLM and say, I want you to use this as a starting point and analyze and understand how we differentiate from our competitors and then provide us with insight, right? One of the things I love to do as somebody who runs a professional service business, we work with a lot of publicly traded companies. I want to stay on top of what they're doing. So I'm oftentimes having LLMs tell me what the investor reports say. If I'm going out to pitch for a major proposal, I'm using deep research to give me all the information on latest news articles, latest news stories that are happening associated with a prospect and a client. I'm taking reports that are publicly available. And I'm saying, ChatGPT, can you review this? Claude, can you review this? And then give me an insight that I can share with my team. This is the research that, again, used to be paid, the time that used to go into analysts, management consulting, that you can now have at your fingertips. You can analyze investor reports and gain insight and inspiration around things you could do. Or let's say someone on your team runs SEO, and whenever they talk to you, you have no idea what they're talking about. You can now take that report, upload it to ChatGPT, and say, how are we doing based off of this? And then in the matter of seconds, you'll get that response back. You could ask them, hey, I got this report from somebody on my team. Please review it and break it down for me, like simply. What do I need to do? What are they trying to get us to understand? You can get that information in seconds. Here is another example of a good prompt. So this one here in particular is with Claude, where I go really, really deep in this idea of competitive analysis. So in this one, I'm saying, hey, Claude, what I want you to do is conduct an in-depth competitive analysis of Manhattan-based lawyers that focus on commercial law. What I want you to analyze is their go-to-market strategies, their brand, their positioning, their story, their message, their website structure. So again, I'm not just going surface level, right? Like I'm going deep here, asking for all of this information to understand the primary message that is articulated on their website. Do a bit of a deep dive into how many pages they have on their site, create for me a competitive analysis, all of these things, right? Here's what is key. You'll notice I've selected extended thinking and research mode. The reason why I've selected these two things is because I don't want the LLM to just go surface level. There's this process that the LLMs do called a fan out, where they start to do research deeper than just like the surface
Do you
level
know if
type
I
of
left
research.
my Apple over-ear headphones around?
And what you
They're
want to
like a dark
do
blue metal
is
color.
select these items so
Oh,
it
dark
goes
blue.
deeper
Yeah.
into the research to provide you with insight around exactly like what lives on their domains and what lives on their websites and their channels. So I encourage you to always select research mode or extended thinking if you're using Claude, or if you're using ChatGPT to use like deep research mode. So again, I mentioned earlier, I love doing research. I call myself Sherlock Homeboy. I'm always doing deeper research than usual. One thing that I encourage you to do is to not forget the part that still makes us human, right? Like, as much as I love and adore the idea of embracing the LLMs to augment myself, there's a thin line that I don't want everyone to go down a path where they think, yeah, AI can do all the thinking for me. I still believe, truly, that even amidst the rise of LLMs, humans still play a key role, and that we don't want to outsource all of our thinking, all of our taste, all of our deep understanding around our local community, the networks that we have, the relationships we have with clients. Like, the AI doesn't have the context that you have that has not been published on the internet yet. So I encourage you to lean into that. Do the research with your eyes. So for example, if I decided that I was going to start a gardening YouTube channel, I'm not just going to say, hey, LLM, tell me what to do. I'm going to use my eyes, my own experience to decide. So I might go to YouTube and I might type in something like gardening. And I start to look around and I notice that these videos are all doing really well. I'm using a tool called vidIQ, which is giving me data on watch time and how people are engaging. And I see this video over here has 350,000 views. That's interesting to me. If I want to start a gardening channel, I want a lot of views too. So I go deeper with it. I go to a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, and I start to analyze how often are people actually looking up these tools? Like, how often are people looking for propagating plants, propagating roses? I start to use this data to inform which path I might take. So I see that propagating lavender has about 850 people looking for it every month. That's not a lot, but it's interesting, right? Like, I like lavender. It helps me sleep. I'm interested. So I go to YouTube and I type in propagating la. As I start to look, I can see some hints. Google always gives you hints into what people are looking for. So propagating lavender from cuttings, that's interesting. From my research, I can see that while the data says only 850 people are looking for it a month, these videos all have hundreds of thousands of views. That's a great signal, right? That tells me that maybe my gardening channel should, in fact, include a video about propagating lavender. Now, the LLM might tell me otherwise. Even the keyword research tool might tell me that there's only 390 people looking for this a month. But my own eyes can tell me and show me that there's actually a bigger opportunity here, especially when I take it a step further. When I take it a step further and I realize that the LLMs can now analyze video content. Every video clip that you produce can have the frames extracted. The captions on the images can now be read. The audio can be extracted and then transcribed. Folks, we live in a different world. Once upon a time, video was very difficult to influence search and buyers because the AI, the algorithm, couldn't listen to the video. Now it can. So video is no longer a nice to have. It's influencing LLMs and customers thanks to video first reasoning engines. So I encourage you to think about it and do your own research into whether or not video might be an opportunity for you. There is a tool that I love called SparkToro. You can type in a domain and it will analyze the visitors to that domain and give you insights into whether or not the people who are visiting that website are actually consuming YouTube content, podcast content, Reddit content, etc. So what I would encourage you to do is to actually submit your website and use tools like SparkToro to tell you where are people who visit our site also spending time. What channels are they on? Are they on YouTube? Are they on Facebook? Are they on X? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on GitHub? Medium? What channels are they using? What podcasts do they listen to? You have to go down your own rabbit hole. I, again, truly do believe your own biggest opportunity today is to be willing to do the research that others are not. For example, in my industry, tons of my customers are B2B. So they're selling to other businesses. They have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into review sites like G2.com, TrustRadius.com, Capterra.com, and all of these sites have lost tons and tons of traffic with the rise of AI. SoftwareAdvice.com, they used to generate 1.4 million in visits. Now it's down to 300,000 a year, right? However, sites like Reddit, Wikipedia, etc., are just on the rise as being cited in LLMs. YouTube is on the rise for being cited in Perplexity. And the reason is simple. These sites don't have the relationship with sites like Google, like Reddit does, like ChatGPT, all of these tools do, right? So when you see this, I encourage you to think about your own local market. Is your audience using WhatsApp? Are they using WeChat? What are they using? And how can you gather insight and information to help support decisions that you make? Now, folks, before we wrap, I want to leave you with a framework for prompt writing that I truly do believe can fundamentally change the way that you write your prompts and hopefully translate into a massive opportunity for research that leads to insight. It's called the market framework. The first starting point is understanding your market, then your audience, your rivals, your key trends and timing, the evidence that you want, then takeaways and decisions. I'm going to break down for you each section of this, and then what I want you to do is apply it to your space over the next week or so, and let's see what the type of research is you get back. So from a market lens, you start by saying, I'm researching the blank market specifically focused on a certain segment. My geographic focus is region. This is a mature or declining market, and it's estimated at, and then you say the size, right? So as an example of this, it would be, I'm researching the B2B SaaS market, specifically focused on marketing automation tools for mid-market companies. The geography is North America. This is a mature but growing market estimated at 6 billion. That's what I want you to start your prompt with, but tailor it to your niche in your space. Then you're going to get audience specific. The target audience is, and then you're going to list their job title, or if you're in the consumer world, think about it as their persona. Are they a dad? Are they a mom? What is their life personal description? Are they a young adult? Are they a student? How would they describe themselves, right? At, and then company size. They typically struggle with certain pain points, so describe their pain, their problem, the issues that they have. Currently, they solve this and then state the solution that they tend to use. And then what is their budget? Do they have money? Do they not have money? Those are the things that you want to articulate. Then the rivals and competitors. This is where I do want you to spend some time. The key competitors include, and then be intentional with listing multiple competitors. Then say, indirect alternatives also include, and then list alternatives that they could have. I want to understand and then say specifically what you want them to compare. I suspect there might be gaps in this and this, right? Then you're going to ask them for specific trends associated with a certain time horizon. I need insights relevant for time horizon. Trends I want to explore include, and then list all of them. All of the things that you care about and the things that you believe might be a difference maker. Relevant external factors include, and then say regulatory, economic, tech shifts, whatever it might be. I want to understand what's changed in the last month, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, you name it. Then you are going to bring the type of evidence that you want the LLM to bring back to you. I need quantitative evidence or qualitative or both. Specific data points that you're looking for include things like, and you prefer sources like, and then list the types of sources. The depth needed, do you want them to go detailed, surface level? What kind of info do you want? And then the last part of the market framework for your prompt is that this research, you want to tell it what you're going to do with it. This research will inform this decision or this deliverable. I need the output formatted as X, Y, and Z. And the audience is, maybe it's you, maybe it's your board, maybe it's your team. Specific questions that I need answered are, and then list them out. Once you bring all of these things together, you are going to have one single comprehensive prompt that will give you the insights that you need to better understand your space, your buyers, your customers, the trends that are shaping your market in a way that is rooted in research. Here's a pro tip. Once you get that response, re-upload it to another LLM and tell it to do a QA, quality assurance of the response that this other LLM gave you, and do some check to see if it's actually true. Folks, if you write this prompt out and you want feedback, we do have a Jumpstart LinkedIn group that will drop in the chat, and I want you to join. I'll be there. I'll answer questions, whether it's related to this prompt or related to anything else related to AI. We'll keep this conversation going over there. But I do want to wrap by sharing some additional things that is very important for you in the research model. One, do your research. I talked a lot about YouTube and how it presents an opportunity, but I don't want you to just believe that. I want you to do research, just like I'm showing here, around using your eyes to look at the screen and understand how successful brands are doing it. I want you to go out and do the test to see if it makes sense for you to be on Reddit. For some of you, Reddit might not even be available in your country and in your region. And as such, go find what is and embrace this simple philosophy: research, creation, distribution, and optimization. Because over the course of Jumpstart January, we have already started to go deep into the research side. The next step is to go into things like optimization, where we're going to dive in deep into understanding how your brand, your business can be better set up to be recommendable by the LLMs, where we're going to go into this entire framework in depth to show you how you can optimize your site for the LLMs, no matter what tool your customers are using, how you can influence it. And some of you might be thinking already, Ross, where do I start with all of this work, with all of the ideas and the things that we just talked about? Folks, just join me for the future sessions and remember that it is a new dawn, it's a new day. I believe that we should all embrace this philosophy of using research to create ridiculously valuable content and then distributing it as much as possible, but also embracing this framework and sprinkling AI over all of it. Research, creation, distribution, optimization. With all of these new tools come great responsibility. And I hope you all take that very seriously because with this comes great power, but also comes an opportunity to do things that you never could before. And my hope, my true hope today, is that you leave here with one prompt, one tool, one idea that sticks with you longer than if you swallowed a piece of bubble gum. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for joining me this morning, this evening, this afternoon, or tonight. And I'll see you in the chat if you have any questions.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Ross, for the fantastic presentation. Guys, don't drop off yet. Don't go. We still have 9 minutes for questions. And while the team is selecting questions, I would like to remind you that if you want to actually say your question out loud, please raise your hand. We'll prioritize those live questions. If not, drop your question in the group chat. Meanwhile, remember that our next AI integration session will be on Tuesday, the 27th January at 10 a.m. ET and again at 8 p.m. ET. And we'll dive deep into learning the signals that drive AI visibility, the assets that every business needs to become recommendable. So now we are ready for our first question. Stay on the line, guys. Stay on the line and drop your questions. Ross, our first question comes from Stefan here, and the question is, do you have any recommendations on which AI or AIs to use for marketing purposes? So in other words, what are your favorite tools or toolbox?
Yeah, great question. So I've become a big fan of Claude. So Claude is a great tool. They also recently launched a new tech side called Claude Code, which I've gotten a lot of value out of. I find that Claude has a nice voice that has more like marketing sounding tone and style. I also, in addition to Foundation, run a company called distribution.ai. So I strongly recommend that you check that out. I use that to repurpose and schedule content all the time as well. I also am a big fan of actually like plugging multiple tools together. So I talked a little bit about SEMrush. I talked a little bit about Ahrefs. I talked about all of these different tools. For me, finding a few that you like the user experience of and just embracing them is a key way to win. There's another tool called Riverside as well that I would encourage folks to check out. It's a video tool that I strongly recommend and would encourage people to check out as well. And if you go to rawsimmonds.com, I wrote a blog post on AI marketing tools that I've been using and that I love, and would encourage people to check that out. And I can share it in the LinkedIn group, or someone can send me a note and I can flip it over as well.
Absolutely. No, this is wonderful. Let's drop that link. So Claude, SEMrush, Riverside, and plugging the tools together to make them really work in an orchestrated manner. This is beautiful. Our second question comes from Manish. Manish, good to see you. And the question is how to get this when the majority of our audience do their searches on Facebook or Reddit or other content destinations that many of the LLMs no longer have access to?
Yeah, so what I have found is that while search behavior changes, the actual process of influencing the LLMs is still tends to be baked into the fundamentals of Google. So if someone is doing a search in a different platform, you can traditionally and typically see very similar patterns between what shows up in Google search, Bing search, and then these other platforms. Now, when it comes to Facebook, I will say that is a very closed network. And what I would encourage you there is to go back to some of the fundamentals around how can you improve your presence on that platform? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you create a Facebook group? Do you need to be in Marketplace? There are different things that at that point you want to be thinking about if you are going to really focus on that channel. For some, they're thinking about Instagram, right? Like if you're in certain markets, Instagram's going to be where your buyers is finding you, TikTok, etc., Amazon, Alibaba, Timu. Like you need to think about all of these different places. And I encourage you to just go deep in your channels and do the research to understand how you can do it. And I guarantee you, AI can still support you in finding ways to find those efficiencies.
This is beautiful. There is a question about a tool. It's a quick one. So Kurt is asking, do you have any thoughts on anti-gravity?
Yeah, so anti-gravity, I believe they're talking about Google's anti-gravity. Is that correct? Does Kirk want to confirm unless there's a new tool? I'm
I
thinking
believe so.
it's
I believe so.
Google's. Yeah,
Yes,
cool.
yes, that's
Then
correct.
I
That's
think it's
correct.
great. I think it's a shift. So if I we'll talk about this in the Be Recommendable. I don't think in the future we are going to live in a time where we click things. I think agents, the ability to have agents do things for us is among us. Like you can ask an LLM today to go and book you tickets, and it can get pretty close to booking you tickets. I think like the future in many ways is what you are seeing in anti-gravity and in those types of platforms. I love it. I think we're going to see an era where people aren't actually writing code as much as they used to. As I
Yeah,
don't even think we're going to see that era. We're in that era.
yeah.
Today, the vast majority of developers like aren't writing as much code as they used to because of things like Copilot, Gemini, all of these different things. So I think we're just fundamentally going through one of the coolest times of humanity, um, which is awesome. It's what
I'm
a
with
time
you
to
on
be
that.
alive. What a time to be alive.
Absolutely. No, this is revolutionary. We are becoming augmented humans. This
We
is
are.
at the next stage. There are two more questions that we'll take. So
Okay.
one quick one from Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Good to see you. He's asking about tools specifically targeting China. Is there a better tool for China? Do you have any insight into that? And if not, we're going to move to another question.
I wish I had an answer. I don't. I was going to ask you, Ashley. That was on my
Eddie,
list to
we
go
can
to
chat
you with.
later.
I like it. Sounds like a plan.
Oh, no, fantastic, fantastic. And then there is one more question from Vic, who is asking, is it still worth running paid ads for search right now in this day and age? Does this show up in or influence our AI search results?
Yeah, so the paid media efforts, I believe, are still very important. You should 100% not turn off paid just because there's been a shift in the way that people discover things. If your paid media ads aren't converting or driving any type of results, turn them off and start from scratch. But if they are working, continue to put money where things work. Um, People will still click on ads. The LLMs, ChatGPT just announced that they're going to be rolling out paid ads directly in their platform. Ads fuel these businesses. I don't believe that any brand should turn off paid advertising in today's day and age. I just think that in addition to that, we should be thinking differently and probably leveraging AI to support the creation of more ads, to create better creative, to create more versions of our A B tests, all of those different things.
This is beautiful. And we're going to take our last question. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, you can also continue dropping your questions in this group, and we're going to answer all of them in our LinkedIn group. Meanwhile, the last question will be live. We have Manjula here raising the hand. Hello, hello. If you can unmute so we could
Ye-
see you.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, sir. This is very informative session. Thank you for that. My question is, we are working in the healthcare industry, sir. So for SEO, for my question for SEO, so how many content we are posting weekly basis, sir?
Yeah, so if I'm in the
In
healthcare
backlink, for backlink, for
So if
backlink.
I'm in the healthcare industry and I'm trying to create content, I'm producing as much as I can while maintaining quality. So I oftentimes get this question like, how often should I post? As many times as you can without losing quality. Whether it's for backlinks, whether it's for social posts, whether it's for SEO, at the end of the day, you should do
Oh,
as much as you can as long as it's good. And if it's
oh,
good, then keep going. Just like do it all the time. But if you don't have time, then you can't do it. But if it's bad,
mm,
don't do it either. Like don't do bad content. Don't create things just because you think you should. Make it good.
okay.
And then once it's
Mm,
good, keep going.
Okay,
Excellent.
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for the
Manjula, for your
question.
question. Thank you so much, Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again give a big hand to Ross for today. Thank you very, very much for the insights and inspiration today. And thank you all for joining us. As you wrap up, take just one idea from today and put it into action this week. Remember, it's really not just about concepts, it's about action. This lab is about progress and not perfection. So we'll see you next week on Tuesday, the 27th. And we'll go even deeper into AI visibility and what makes your brand stand out and be recommendable. Thanks again for being a part of this Jumpstart January. This is Ashley here based in Hong Kong. We're going to see each other next week. Have a great rest of the day. Woo!
Great job, Ashley.